Hello. Hey, Stephen.
Hi, Frank. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. I'm on my phone. We're traveling home, and
Okay.
I haven't done this on my phone before, so I didn't know if you would be able to hear me because I don't see, the mute button.
Yep.
So,
It's been a while since I've done it on the phone too. When I was going to Rhode Island a lot, I found a place on the highway at Route 122. I'd pull over each time at
uh-huh.
5 o'clock, but the old buildings got committee. Became a habit. Hey, Jeff. I know Anna Cook will not be making it today.
Okay.
Right.
Give
And
her,
it's possible that, I could at some point lose the connection.
yes. Hopefully Phil will come because we'll have a. Where are you now? What town?
Um, well, we just came through Miller's Falls, and we're headed up the hill towards the Wendell Park
Yep.
facility.
Yeah, there's a good chance. You've got that tower at Diamond Farm helping you right now. So, I don't know what the rules are. If I call to order, you might be able to get back on. There he goes.
I still see you.
Yep. I've got another iPad. You paused for a second. You had some dithering. There's another iPad coming in, and there's Phil. Okay.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Phil, how you doing?
Phil.
Okay, we've got a quorum. And Anna's not coming in. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 5:30. And if we lose Stephen, we still have a quorum. So, and I've got Haley Bolton coming in also. My apologies. I had worked on all the minutes, and the only ones I didn't. I only shared. I thought I shared them all. I only shared the 5:13. So I'll
When?
do that tomorrow morning. Share the other two. Maybe this one too.
When did you share those?
I
Uh,
didn't get them.
you got them.
No.
5:13.
No.
Hold on.
So I'm not the only one that didn't get them.
You're not the only one. Not the only one.
Okay.
Hold on. 5:13. It doesn't say a date. It just says all your names. It usually sends you a link. We can do this next meeting. That's fine. I don't want to lose Stephen. Um, and Zoom just changed all their things, so all the buttons are there. So we're going to forego the minutes of this meet of the review the minutes, and we'll do that next time. And Haley Bolton is here, and
Okay.
a while ago she asked me to put together some form so that we can get maintenance in agreement, and she's here to talk about it. So,
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so it occurred to me at some point that there's not really a process through which department heads can request building upgrades. And, I like to collaborate, and I figured who better to ask than the buildings committee, what are some considerations that might be important? This kind of sprang to my mind when we were going through the sidewalk renovation or like rehabbing for the school, and just how do we make sure that when a department has a need, it's getting reported to the building committee, because you should really be the first stop. I feel like, well, me and you, but and how do we make sure that there's a designated point person, and that we're, if procurement steps have to be followed, that's clear to people. I really like procedures. They're helpful. And I'm hoping that we could kind of draft something tonight.
Okay, then we're going to go back up here. And now I shared okay. Done. Haley sent us a form. And share window. Yeah, they just updated. Okay. They just updated this whole thing. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
I know we looked at this once before at a meeting 2 months ago. I don't know, it might be hard for you to see it, Stephen, but I think you kind of remember it.
Is there any way you can make it a little bit bigger to read the text?
Hold on a second.
If not, don't worry about it. Hey, that's good. Thank you.
And zoom in its changes. So it has a nice logo on the top, facilities maintenance request form, building name, contact number, email address, department.
Wait, whose name? Whose name is name?
Well, wouldn't
Should
that
be
be? Go ahead, Haley.
Oh, sorry. That should be the requester. So
can we
if
change it
that's
how about requester's name as opposed to the building name? Okay, that's all.
Yep.
I think it's OR, not ER.
Okay, I'm not the best speller, so thank you. And we'll change that. Contact number, email address, where the details are in the area.
Why
And the
don't
data-
you
Yep.
add a space so that line, the department unit area isn't so compressed against the line above it?
Ah, yes. Okay. Yep.
So you have department/unit/area, and then down below, data request says location of issue. So what's the difference?
I mean, I always like a little more specificity, but I think we could probably consolidate it. I just wanted to make sure that, like, if it's in, like, what's a good example? If it's in the school art department, well, what room is that, right? But maybe for some things that's less of an issue.
Well, what about, where it's location of issue and then maybe you have 2 lines for that. And then where you have description of problem, would you want a number of lines?
Yeah.
I'll let you play with this. You're listening. You can send us a new one, but I'll just for the
Okay.
for the sake of looking at things. Because I'm
And
not.
then my suggestion is maybe we don't need the department/unit/area.
Yeah, that would make sense. We could put building, room, floor area,
Mm.
something like that, Stephen.
Well, it says,
Yeah,
oh, yeah, building/room.
yeah. And then we could take out the this one here, right? Department unit area.
Yes.
And this is just the logistics will change. I'm not in an edit mode.
Yeah, and I think you can keep everything justified to the left.
Yep.
Uh,
Haley's taking notes.
Yeah.
I'm typing and Haley's taking notes. I think
Yeah.
this
And then
yeah.
oh, sorry. What were you going to say?
No, I think this looks good, and I like the low, medium, high, urgent.
My only question, I guess one of the questions for you guys though, is there anything else you would need to know like at a glance? Like if we're having an issue, what's helpful for you?
I guess my question would be, when someone submits this or fills this out, where's it going first?
So I was kind of thinking we could do it as like a Google form so that it just lives in the cloud. And, I think there's a setting to make it like you get a notification when something comes in. So that was what I was kind of conceiving this as. Um, it might be a little harder, like practically speaking, like if something's really urgent to get this information ahead of time, but to the best of our ability, if we can plan things, like for example, well, like the salt shed, actually, Jeff, that's a great example. Like, I think that's pretty high priority. And like, there would certainly be time to like flesh this out and maybe, um, asking like, do you have quotes already? Do you have a vendor that you're currently working with? Might be some other good info to have.
I'm more concerned about requests that are the other side of the coin, where somebody says, "Oh, I got a spot on my carpet and I don't like that spot.
Mm.
So I want the building department to come and clean my carpet or take care of this spot." And
That's a good point.
or my light bulb is burned out or it's flickering. Well, so I guess in my opinion, these ought to go to you first, and you,
Okay.
the ones that are
Screen them
just,
out.
yeah, the ones that are just plain stupid, you deal with.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that actually would probably be a lot easier to just do it and then I'll funnel them out. And then, because yeah, that can just be a conversation with you guys. Like, if it's low level, like what is low versus what is like, you can probably handle this yourself internally.
And,
Yeah, because I'm sure everybody's going to also, their priority level is going to be high and urgent.
True. Maybe that could be one of those fields where it's like for admin purposes only and like we internally assign that.
Yeah, then perhaps, yeah, I think that's a very good point.
and the other thing I'm thinking about is in the Google Cloud,
Mhm.
some people aren't as computer literate.
Oh, sure. So having
Chief Lenny. So I don't know. He could probably fill out a PDF editable, excuse me, whatever that word is, PDF,
Mhm.
and email that also.
Okay.
So I just think try to make it easy for people because people are going to have to go to the cloud, find things, and the cloud might be too full or just unnecessary and stuff like that. But editable, whatever that word is, PDF.
What's that word again?
I'm going to bring it up on the dictionary, hit that little loudspeaker, and tell you exactly how it is. Yeah, so that's the only thing I would say on that. And maybe attach images or supporting documents. I think that's a key one too. So
I have a question. Is there any budgetary issues that this forum should address? I mean, is there just a pot of money somewhere where all these things will be used to fix these things, or is there some sort of budget process or financial planning process that these things go through?
Well, that's a good question. So, like, it would depend, right? So if it's over 5K, that would be a capital item. Under 5K, we would have to look at, is it potentially like a building committee fund versus is there money in like the highway maintenance line for something? So I don't know, with those different layers, I'm not sure how to work that in.
Maybe that's at some point. I think there's the point where the person fills this out, and then you're vetting them for priority level, and maybe you should be screening them for how it gets potentially funded as well.
Well, I think what I'd really like is I like this sheet because when Lenny has a mini split out, and if we get it in, we know it's there, and we have other mini split problems. We can bulk everything together and then figure the money out there. And if it gets too expensive, we can go to the finance committee or something like that. So the paying of the money, we have X amount a year. We'll get to that a little later. That we still have in our fund. It's going down though, but we're spending it a little at a time. So a lot of the stuff, Phil, I think like window rotting out. We have the Three Stooges, Three Stooges go out and fix it. It comes out of the yeah, there you are, Stephen. It comes out of the building fund because it was yeah. So something like that we can take out of the buildings fund. Some buildings have funds themselves that could be used, and so we'd have to. That's why we have to look at this. For instance, in the past, when the pump went in the vault at the school and they paid $6,000, they didn't have the money, so they had to go to the school committee and then go to the finance committee to find out where they could switch all the money around. Whereas if we had this here, we would have gotten it first and say, whoa, they're going to charge $6,000 for a motor. And I know Chief Lenny said, I'll put one in because it's $250. So it gives us a heads up on a lot of things. We also don't want to hold back on emergencies, but it'd be nice to know about the emergency after the fact so we can follow up and keep a record. I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah,
that's absolutely. A really good point. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with all those points. One other thing I would add is from the person filling out this form, their perspective, there needs to be some sort of feedback loop so they know, what kind of timeline, if it's going to happen at all, and what kind of timeline it's going to take to get it repaired or fixed. Because that's, you just don't want people to think that they're sending it into a black hole to never to be seen again. Yeah, we want people to trust the process and to have, to be aware, just be aware that some things might take longer than others to get done.
That's a great point, Bill. The return receipt requested, whatever, get back and have something. That's a great point, Phil. Is like they'll stop filling it out if it's not, if it isn't answered. That whole you know,
Exactly. If they don't feel like it's working for them, they're not going to use it.
so, yeah, so the feedback is a key thing from both the town administrator and then the buildings committee, and some things that, I'll get a request, I'll share it with you all. We won't confer without being in a meeting, but um, someone could go to Haley and say, that's a capital expense, so, and don't worry about it. Or we've got a plumber or an electrician right now, we'll call the electrician. And that's the other goal we're trying to get is super vendors, and we'll call this electrician and have it done as soon as he can get over there, and we'll get back to you at that time.
Sure. That makes sense.
So I have
Okay.
another thought on the form.
Yep.
Where it says attachments. Why not put attach images or supporting documents if available?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just typing it in, abbreviate, so she'll get it down.
Yeah, so that where it says attach, the line below that says attach images or supporting documents if necessary, I don't think is needed. I think if someone can attach something, photo or docs,
Mhm.
that would be great. But I think at most there might be photos, I would think.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
getting back to what Phil said, should it say on this sheet that who to submit it to?
Mhm.
Because it sounds like it'll go to Haley first, and that submit it to Haley, and you will receive feedback. Do we want to put a time? Within 24 hours, 48 hours. I mean, I don't know, like on a weekend, like if somebody submits something Saturday
Mm.
because they just found a broken pipe in the school somewhere. Um, I don't know, Haley, if you look at your work stuff, I mean, I'm not expecting that you would, but, do you glance at that stuff on a weekend or so,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
But
I
I could
guess
do like, oh, sorry.
I was
Um,
the other possibility is please submit it if this is a like emergency. Then do
mhm.
you want to have a phone number, which you may not want to give out? Um, so those are just some thoughts on submission and how soon somebody can expect a response.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, like in case of emergency, do X, Y, and Z so that it's a little bit more clear.
Well, I guess it could be could try calling you, could try calling
Mhm.
Frank. Um, yeah.
Or if you have if it's a real emergency, off whatever, if you have used someone in the past also.
Mhm.
We don't
Okay.
we don't want the building, the building flooding, and hopefully we'll have some vendors for them to use, or
Mhm.
electrics, a circuit breaker is smoking or something. Well, that one you'd call Lenny, but Chief Lenny. But something like that, so that we are not prohibiting them, or
Mhm.
that's not the right word, but hindering them.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point that there's kind of like two tracks for this form. One is, an emergency. They're filling it out after the fact, after they've dealt with the emergency. And then a normal request, they're filling it out before anything happens.
Hmm. So should there be two forms maybe? Like one that's emergency specific as like a just reminder, like if the oil tank leaks, you have to notify these people in this time. But if it's like an anticipated or like kind of a routine thing, it'd be a more benign form.
Well, you could just start right at the top. You could say, one, if emergency, call, and give
Mhm.
whatever numbers. And then two, if non-emergency, please fill out the following form and submit it to you.
Okay. And then as part of my intake process, I'll get back to them and do a little screening, maybe do some, if there's follow-up questions, and then I can hand it off to you guys and say,
Yeah.
this request came in and here's the details. Because I think you're right. It's just about like centralizing so that we don't have all these different buildings that they have like the same issue, or we would want to be able to track like, okay, the same issue is happening all the time with this piece of equipment. So we need to know that.
Good. Is this something we have to vote on?
I
Well,
don't know. Vote to support, I guess you could say.
I don't see why we have to vote on this.
Yeah, I think this is just a procedural thing.
Mhm.
It's a form.
It's a form. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Okay. Is there
I don't
anything,
want to.
does anyone else have any questions, ideas, opinions?
That looks good.
Great.
Right. Well, thank you. I love when presentations go easy. It's a pleasure.
Okay. And yeah, well, thank you for coming over and explaining and helping us with this, Haley. And we'll see we'll know how it's going down the road.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you, Haley.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Yep. Thank
Bye.
Bye.
you. Okay. Updates on the elementary school problems and lights and oil tank. I called Comtank. Now we all know that there's 2 more inches of water since the last cleaning, and I called Comtank and asked him how water gets in and where it gets in. If the vent shaft is covered, is it a significant amount of water getting in? And all this other stuff. And the engineer, Michael, said he offered to send someone out. So I agreed with that. I think I sent you. I think I sent you all that form. But we spent $1,000 going over everything in the school, and everything is tight. And that's what they did. And then they took a sample of the water 2 different ways, fuel water thing, to see if it had I like that word, fingerprint. So in other words, it had chlorine. We know it's coming from a public utility, a public, supply, and nothing came up on that. So the other good news is because we've polished once, they said the test that they took, the little sample test, we don't need to do polishing again. But they can take it's a siphon thing where they take it and then take out all the water and put it into a 55-gallon drum and make sure that they do it over, I don't know how long of a time, but they let it settle and constantly take it out till it's just fuel coming out. Because it's hazard and all that other stuff, it's about $3,200. So that's where that is. I'd like to vote on that because
Can we go back a second? So they weren't able to tell us how the water's getting in.
right. Everything, everything they say is like they were really worried. The yellow things in the parking lot where the vault is, the intakes, the valves, the alarm system, and everything. He checked everything. Everything is sealed. Water can't get in that way. The main one he was worried about was the fuel intake. The fuel intake has a cup in it for overflow by code. So it's got about a 5-gallon. It looks like a 5-gallon cauldron underneath, with the pipe going through it, but it's solid. And there was.
I mean, is that where they put the fuel into the tank?
That's where the company comes in and hooks up the hose and drops the fuel in there. There was a little oilness and a little moisture, but the moisture, the engineer thought, was just from the temperature of the metal, like
Right.
normal. But there was no puddle at the bottom. And we did this after a rain. So one of those big rains we had last month.
Okay.
We had 2 big rains because I know the lake filled up.
And then previously you had talked about there's 2 pumps, but 1 pump isn't run
right.
in this century. And we were going to try to have that dealt with.
Yes.
So they're saying that's not the source of the leak?
Nope. That was the source of the oil leak. It's not the source of the water leak
Okay.
because it's above the water. So I did this. The test was wonderful because it came after one of those big rains, the 3 inches or whatever. And I took the cover off the vault, and Titan forgot to take the boom out, which was saturated in oil. Haley knows about that. She's going to work on that. And there's 2 more inches. There's another 2 inches of water. So when I last looked at the vault 4 months ago, there was 2 inches of water after another heavy rain, and I saw the dripping. I think I might have sent you guys a video or a link to the video where the electrical outlet comes in. The electric supply comes in from the building, and it was dripping. So I think that's a good source of where the water is in the vault, not the oil. Because after that, we had 2 heavy rains of 3 inches plus last month. And I was there the day after, and it was up a little, 2 inches. So there's 4 inches of water at the bottom there. And I'm going to ask him, I might ask, it's not significant enough because it's still, a foot or more away from the pump. So I don't know when to have, we've made a decision to, Haley asked us to have Western just do the pumping and not turn the other pump that's in there, the sump pump in there on, to have someone professionally do it going forward. So we had more rain. I'll go look at it again, but I don't think the vault's filling up as fast as we thought it was filling up, or we were told. I think it's just if it's heavy rain or maybe melting snow. I don't know. But going back to the oil tank is solid, or the pressure tank was there. He looked at all the valves. We went inside, looked at all the contractions. There's no, water pipe hooked up and, it's backfeeding. And he said it wouldn't backfeed because there's checkpoints or something. There should be checkpoints in the day tank, so nothing would backwash in. And I felt comfortable looking at, he pointed everything out, that I don't know where this water's coming in. So the next test will be, we've got a lot of oil in there now, is you buy a toothpaste tube of gel, and it goes red when water touches it. You stick it in the tank and it went red. And he forgot to bring his tape measure, so we used my tape measure. And that's how we confirmed it was still 2 inches of water. So we had 2 major rainstorms between the time it was last pressure tested when they found out there was 2 inches of water. We had 2 or 3 major rains, and there was no increase in that 2 inches of water.
Interesting.
Yeah, those glorious mysteries.
So if we can't figure this
the
out, are we every year now we're going to have to go suck 2 inches of water out of that tank?
No.
And also, is this 2 inches of water going to stop us from heating the building pretty soon?
Well, that's the other thing I asked. I said, is this 2 inches of water a problem? He goes, he believes, and I have to go get this. I want to get the specs on all this stuff because it's in the attic of the school. He believes the intake is normally positioned, the suction to go, the pump intake, or the end of the pump which sucking the oil to the school, is normally 3 or 4 inches above the bottom, so that if sediment and other crap doesn't pull it into your system.
Right.
But they've
the water's on top.
Yeah, the water, fuel's on top. Yeah, so the fuel
water's on top or fuel's on top.
Fuel's on top.
So the water's down by the intake.
Yes. But
Oh,
it's, yeah, that's the problem. But it's 2 inches is 2 inches from the in tank, or 4 inches from the in tank. So I guess I don't know. I don't want to do this every time. I just want to find the water source, and that's why I called this, the engineer, the Comtank, because this is what they do. The thing they next recommended is before our next load, and they said they've heard this in the past. Before our next load, we go out to the tank and we test it for water. If there's water in the tank, then we still have another problem. If there's no water in the tank and we fill the tank and there's water in the tank, we know where it's coming from. It's coming from the delivery. And that's what they suggested to me.
Can you go back over that statement again?
Okay.
What do you mean by they go in the tank?
Okay. No, I use the wrong pronouns or things. So what we would do, the town of Shutesbury, or me and you, Jeff, would go to the tank and take the stick, put the water detecting gel on it, stick it into the tank down to the bottom. It's only about 8 feet. And if it comes up red, there's water in there. If it comes out clean, which after you clean it, they do that same test to make sure there's no residual water in there. If that comes out clean, and we do this the day before the fuel is delivered, then when the fuel is delivered at the time of delivery, we can do the exact same thing. And they said it would be while the fuel right after the fuel's delivery, if we stuck a stick down in there with the gel on it and there was water in it, the 2 inches of water, that's where they think it might be coming from. It was delivered to us. And they've heard that, and they told me this, so I thought that was very interesting.
Have we checked with any other recipients of this fuel?
I asked Susie. I'm on the finance committee with Susie, who works with the schools, and no other schools having this problem. So this is what the other dilemma is. It's a pain in the ass.
And they're using the same fuel company?
Yes, they're using Sprague, and we were using Robinson in Springfield. And then the superintendent in the school, I don't know who in the school, might have been the principal, I'm not sure, bulked it together to save money that all the schools get, from one vendor. I don't know if I don't know if Ann said they are saving lots of money. I don't know if they are. I don't know what the market is on diesel. I've got bills on it. So where that is. I don't know if how much savings there is. I know when the oil leak happened, I went back and talked to Robinson, and they were very disappointed because they've been doing it for so many years. So I don't know whose decision or who's responsible for making those decisions. I know it's not us buying fuel.
Okay. So when are they going to get their next fuel delivery? Do we know?
They have a lot of fuel. It probably won't be till November, I guess.
Oh, okay.
It won't be right away because there's a lot of fuel in the tank.
Okay.
So
sometime soon, are you going to have the 2 inches of water removed?
Yes. They called me back the other day, and I told her, I said, I can't make a decision on this till we talk and vote on it. And she goes, when's the meeting? I said, Wednesday night. She's probably going to call me first thing tomorrow morning.
Well, it sounds like a prudent thing to do is have the water taken out, do the dipstick, right, to show that there's no water. And then maybe in as little as a couple of weeks, do it again. Maybe do it one more time in a couple of weeks, and then maybe do it monthly to see if any water ends up in there. Did anybody talk to you about condensation?
Yes. When tanks are not full,
Right.
and are full, it can tend to do that. But we've been getting consistent deliveries, and like the last delivery, Matt, the custodian, orders 5,000 gallons at a time. And he was looking at the device and the closet to show what fuel is there. And the engineer said that's working perfectly because it's probably like inches off, but it's not hundred thousands of gallons off because he looked at that also as a source and all that. Matt looked at it and ordered 5,000, and they just hooked up the hose and walked away, hit the button, the pump went on, and it stopped at 3,000. There's a gate, there's a whole thing just like your gas tank, automatically stops and doesn't overflow. So he was surprised at that because what he ordered. So we were full that last time. I don't know. We never go below. He always orders 5,000. So I don't think we'd be. Maybe half tank or I don't know. That's something.
So is it a 10,000 gallon tank?
10,000 gallon tank, and the capacity is a little less because of a couple other things. But yeah, 99,700 something, or I forget what I read on it. The fuel capacity.
Okay.
Okay. So I'd just like to vote on it because I'd like to get going because school starts soon, and I don't want to.
Are there any other alternatives, or is this do it or not do it? Any other alternatives to that?
I could bring a bunch of people in and ask them to do it. This month I haven't had time to do it since I did this last thing. It seemed reasonable. The engineer said the fuel, they did the testing on the fuel to make sure it was clean, so we don't have to polish it, which was very expensive. And I'd like to come up with some type of solution in the future, but in the past, when we had this problem prior, Jamrod bid $5,700 just to suck the water out. What Comtank is doing for 32 or 34, and I asked him at the time, does that include fuel conditioners? And fuel conditioners eat up the water or something like that. We used to use it in our diesel trucks when I was in the business. And he said no. So it went way over the $6,200 what Jamrod was going to charge us. And then I also found out that when you do this, the state has rules and regulations on that water. So in other words, he was probably hiring Comtank and putting $3,000 in his pocket.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
Okay, so why don't you
I'd like to make a
make the
motion.
motion? Yeah.
Someone to make a motion that we hire Comtank to siphon the water out of the bottom of the oil tank at the school for $3,200 or $400. I think $200. I can look it up, but and then we start monitoring it thereafter, like Steven said.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call vote. And would you all use your last names? I learned something new about the stupid open meeting law. So, just say your last name and I.
Almus, aye.
Parker,
Quackenbush,
Okay. And McGinn, I. Okay. We all said it. Good. It's on record. Thank you all. The back door. Stephen, you went and looked at it and fixed it the other day.
Well, Jeff, Russ, and I looked at it, and then Russ and I repaired it. I sent you the photos.
Yep.
Two very well secured blocks at the base of each side light. So when the door is shut, the side lights stay in position. They will not be pushed inward, which is, because the frame the door frame is no longer actually attached to the door sill. I assume that originally there was a screw or a pin that came from the underside of the metal door sill up into the frame. And with moisture over the years, it's rusted away. And so the frame was actually able to swing a little. And if the door was binding at all, and you pushed, it would just be pushing that side light panel in, and you couldn't get it to latch.
So based on repairs that have been done, Stephen, do you think we need to look at replacing that door system?
Well,
Anytime
I
soon?
think it's still something we're going to want to do, but I think it's taken it out of the, my God, we got to do this tomorrow kind of thing.
Right.
Okay.
The one thing I want to do is, the edge of the door, I belt sanded that so the door, would fit. But then we had all that rain, and I'd like to go back and, if everything's okay, put several coats of primer on that edge to
Okay.
reduce it swelling more.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, I'm glad it's yeah. If it's working, we'll do something. The other thing I would like to do, because I've been doing this ever since I've been on the buildings committee. That door's had problems. It's got screws and it's been held together by a lot of people. And it's not ADA compliant because a wheelchair person can't hit a button or pull it out. I'll ask Haley if she can look for a grant to replace it, so it's not our money, and start that going. And then in the future, if the wind blows it off again, we can talk about bringing a door company and maybe putting a ADA electronic door in.
Yeah, and when we were discussing this, I think Brennan came along and talked about how water came in through or under the door. And, because of that clogged drain, and the fact that water, even if the drain's functioning, water is dumping down from the little roof section above. Um, I know my feeling is, and I think Russ agreed, I'm not sure if how Jeff is feeling about this, but having a simple roof that only comes out, that would come to the edge of the concrete so that the support posts aren't out in the traffic area. Um, so it would keep that area drier in a rain and would reduce the risk of water finding its way into the building there.
And perhaps,
I agree. I agree with that. We're just going to figure out which way the slope is supposed to go.
Okay.
well, when you started saying you had an idea, my thought also was the drain is a problem, the water grade is a problem. I know they just graded that, they regraded the whole parking lot. I haven't seen there since I walked in a puddle the last big water storm to see if it was graded away from the building. And I was
Well,
thinking,
the asphalt's the problem.
okay, that's there.
You
So
need to, you need to take the asphalt out and
And-
drop the asphalt several inches behind that door, and then maybe even redo the slab, because the slab, I didn't put a level on it, but it almost feels like it's dead flat.
Yeah.
would if we do this peaked roof out there to the asphalt edge, I don't know what it's called. I've seen them made in Germany. Would it behoove us to put a French drain or whatever that thing is in front of that and redig up that whole drain area to make sure that when the water does come in front of the door, it goes straight into the drain? Because right now,
I would put the roof on, and I'd put a gutter on it, have the downspout go off to one side and see what happens.
okay,
I think that would resolve it, because that would then catch the water, coming off of the roof above as well, and shunt all of that, I think,
and
away.
find out where's the lowest point.
But I mean, a simple thing to do is go out there when it's dry with a garden hose and just spray a lot of water onto the asphalt and see which way it goes.
Okay. And would this hipped roof, or whatever, this sloped roof,
Whatever kind of roof, yeah.
yeah, would this be something that Mo Curley and Larry could do?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
I'm not convinced of that, but okay.
The doing the roof is one thing, but flashing it to the building is going to be the tricky part.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so we'd like to have a guarantee on that. And then plus you have to take the siding off.
Right.
So, okay. Does anyone know any contractors that could do it?
Well, I mean, we could talk to Russ before
Okay.
we go that route, see what his thoughts are.
Okay. Good. Good,
I mean,
good.
Russ has put on roofs.
Did a great job on the dam. You all did a great job on the dam keeper's house. I see it every day. Um, okay, let's go to that route. You'll talk to Russ and get back to us and see his thoughts on it, and that'd be great. And then we'll come up with another solution for the water in the back. And now we're going to go to the other water in the back room. I didn't go back because I was out of town for another week. I don't know how that back room is doing now. And I was actually there this morning, but there was a sign up for the elderly knockbox thing for that. So I didn't look in the back there. But one thing I did notice in the back room is the amount of clutter.
What do you mean by the back room? What are we talking about?
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm sorry. Stephen knew about it, but
The storage room behind the meeting room
yeah.
Oh, okay.
would be below the front of the building.
Yep. Okay.
And we had one of those big storms, the last one. They had a ton of water in there. And I think that was another 3 or 4 inch rain in a short period of time. And we should address that so it doesn't keep on happening. But I'll go look at it again tomorrow, see how it is, because I told them to leave the fans on until it was dry. I don't know if we have how many humidity. I didn't have a dehumidifier. There was one in the other room. I'm more worried about mold creating, and it was a dump all place. There's a election boxes, a police boxes, and Brendan didn't know who half the stuff was, but I couldn't get into the room. You saw that how hard it was to get into the room, Stephen, right? They put
Every time I've been there, when I originally did the inspection, and then since then, there's always been a lot of stuff, and there's no organization to it. And a lot of those big black Pelican boxes, which I'm guessing, I could be totally wrong, belong to the police department. I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if someone created order there, it would make a lot of difference. But the leak on what would be the west side, that's because the gutter's spilling over. And from my original report, it said there was a lot of debris in the gutters. So I think the gutter needs to be cleaned. And then the grading, so where it was spilling over, it dug a hole right against the building. But then the grading there is not good anyway. So, and I think that probably a bush might need to be taken out in order to allow for some regrading. But first thing is clean the gutter, because then that water can go into the underground drain.
And then we'll see if the underground drains. Well, I think it was working last time, right? Didn't we take the
But
hose out?
we did our original hose test. Both of the front
Yeah.
underground drains were functioning.
Okay. Okay.
And I think there's a grading issue over on the other side as well. When I went in there after the second rain with Brennan, there was water all the way across the floor. So there could have been water coming in from both the east and west sides. I'm not sure.
I know that the highway department mulched or did something there, and I can ask Dave to come look at it too and see what his opinion is, how he can help us with the grading to get that done sooner, and then still get the gutter cleaned out, because it's a combination of those two things, and try to come up with an organization for me to get things, I had to take things out. And if we clean the room out completely, it'd be real nice to put white lines down where you don't put anything. So you can go to the circuit breaker, you can go to the wellhead, and nothing can be put there, you know. So I guess that's my concern. Okay, so we'll work on that. Now, I think there's a tall enough ladder. I can go look at it tomorrow. There's a tall ladder in the basement. I'll just see how the gutter is and go from
In the
there.
basement of,
It's in the boiler room. There's a 6 or 8 foot. There's a 6-foot ladder in the boiler room.
well, you're not going to be able to see the gutter.
I'm 6 foot.
You're not going to be able to see the gutter.
Okay. Okay. What are you doing tomorrow, Stephen?
I
What do
have,
you- yeah, we're in the future.
tomorrow's a busy day for me.
Okay, in the future, can we do it sometime next week, maybe?
Sure.
Okay. And I get to hold the ladder this time, Jeff, not Stephen. So. Okay, that's that. The next on the agenda is go over priorities of what we did and the next steps, which kind of segues into the budget for next year. So last year we didn't request any funds because we got 2 funds in a row and we didn't spend anything 2 years ago. So we had $70,000 plus the $10,000 building budget that they every year goes back into free cash, and they've been putting 10 in every year and putting, it's a weird thing. There's an extra 10 on it that says building something that we can have access to. But we'd like to come up with something for dollar, how much dollars we're going to spend. I know we talked about the salt shed roof in the back, and I'll get to your salt shed question in next, Jeff. But what are these big things? And it might be mini splits and stuff like that. Heating systems coming on. Fix the mini splits or replace the mini splits that are gone, and have someone look at those and come up with an idea for spending. Now that I'm on the finance committee, it's the fiscal year 28 is going to be a very difficult one for a lot of reasons, and money's becoming scarce, and we don't want our taxes going up to pay any more than they have to. And that goes into different things we're going to look at for fiscal year 27, 28 is like the oil tank. They have to come up with what we're going to do with that system with the ECAC, the Michaels Committee. Hey, Jeff, have you ever heard of renting an oil tank and not buying one above ground? No. Because that'd be a great short-term thing to stop using the old oil tank and put a 5,000 above ground one.
If there's a way to lease something, they'll figure it out.
Yep. On one of the segue I didn't mention to the school is they're going to come out and look at, and I have to call them again when I talk to the woman. The engineer is going to come out and look at the alarm system
For the tank?
Yes. And it's turned off, by the way. I said, you want to turn it on? He goes, it might have bells and whistles going off. The engineer said, it might have bells and whistles. I'd rather have someone, he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. They have a guy in the office who does the alarm system. But it was physically turned off. So
we don't know whether it's just turned off or it doesn't work.
exactly. But they said it didn't work. And that's, I don't know. It's all a mystery to me. But I'd rather we have to have it done, and we have to have it certified for the insurance.
And by a certain date?
No, they want us to do it, as soon as possible. So I'm working on, I called, Anna gave us, I'm going to get the names, Western Mass, or whatever the heating company that also does plumbing. And right on their website, they don't do oil burners. So they won't come and do the school. So I was talking to Landry. This is the other weird thing. When I went into the school to do something, the Landry truck, have you seen that plumber? He's on 202. There's one of the guys that works for him keeps his car on 102. And I asked him if that was him, and he goes, "No, that's the other guy." And they do all sorts of work, but they just do the maintenance every summer. This is what's weird to me, on snaking out all the sinks. So this is where you get into maintenance things, and where the money comes is they sink, like the art sink has a big bucket underneath it. They clean that out, and then they snake down and make sure all the sinks that have these catch buckets underneath them are clean, so they don't overflow during the school year.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh, how often do you do this?" He goes, "Every year." Or this is what the kid said. The young man, I shouldn't say kid. So I asked him. I said, "You guys can work on this. You can work on this oil. Do you work on oil boils like that?" He goes, "Oh yeah, we do that all the time." So I haven't called them yet. So I'd like to at least get two more, 3 names. We Jamrod's not there. Royal Steam hasn't come back and answered anything in a while. I don't know why. Because it was a shit job. We have to get in the vault, we have to get it capped off. That's some of our monies. That's why I'd like to come up with a list. If everyone could put their brain together with a list we gave you and come up with what we feel is the high priority list, and that'll segue into anything big we should put through capital planning, because it goes through.
Are we going to be requesting additional funding for next year?
Yes, that's the thing. If we have 48,000, I have to look it up again because bills have since come in. If we have less than a certain amount, $40,000, it'd be nice to replenish it, because that's something that's our money to that, when the sliding door at the school, gets blown out from a storm or something, that's something we have access, $2,000 or $3,000 to fix. Or in the middle of winter, 2 of Lenny's mini splits, blow up, we can take it out of our funds, and that's the funds we have. And in past years, it was in $20,000 and $40,000 increments, and I don't know why we got 2 increments in a row, or maybe it was 2 20s or something like that. That was all Becky's doing. I didn't have anything to do. I didn't know anything about
Can
that.
I interject?
Yep.
When I first started, I think every year buildings committee would get 30,000. And then I guess it was Becky's last year, we got 40,000. And then there was some mistake made somewhere, and I don't know if we got 240s or 40 and a 30 or whatever. But, I think just hearing what you're saying, it's really hard for us to project what we're going to need, because as you said, well, what if 2 mini splits go out? Well, I mean, even if we go through our list of quote priorities, and as we know, priorities change because of some emergency, I think we should just request another 40.
Okay. Because what I've learned is, let's say that account went to zero, we'd in order something came up, the finance committee would have to find the monies to pay the vendor, because it's
Right.
not Gail, the accountant, needs to put it in something, and they've done that in the past. I've watched the finance committee and the select board, rob Peter and pay Paul, and so I'll put that through as as another budget item.
I mean, does everybody agree with that?
I agree.
Okay.
Fine.
It's not a lot of money when you start talking about heating systems and everything else. And the other thing is, the justification, thinking about it, is Haley's now come up with a good plan. So the school spends an awful lot of money on education money on their maintenance of their building, and we'll get to see that now, and it might be coming out of ours.
I've more recently had a thought about the the school issue, um, and without going into a lot of detail, which I could, um, they make gas conversion burners. And, as a home inspector, I saw quite a few times where people had a oil-fired boiler, hot water boiler, and they were tired of the oil for a lot of reasons, and they had a gas conversion burner put in. So you could have a gas conversion burner, and then I think propane companies, they will, install a tank, and you don't pay for it as long as you're buying propane from them.
Right.
And there's a lot more to my thoughts on this, which I don't think I need to go into here, but it's something to add to the mix.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree. To get away from that, get away from the oil and see what the cost differential would be. So when we were talking about capital planning at my finance committee last night, the salt shed came up. And Jeff, you had talked to someone about the engineering. I don't know who you talked to.
Um,
You want to enlighten us?
that guy on the right, the picture right there, his name's Dalmuth.
Okay, it's not on my right. He's
You
he's
want
right.
my name at the base of your name?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying, Jeff?
Prime.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll start with the good things. So Russ and I were able to screw the roof back down on the highway department. I don't know what it is that caused the roof to go up, but the screws were just sheared off that were holding the roof down to the wood blocking. So we put much longer tap screws and were able to pull the roof back down. So that seems to be taken care of. The strange thing is, even though the roof is back down, there's a gap between the roof and the beat up gutter. Um, and right now, birds and bees and stuff like that are getting in there. So even if we replace the gutter, that doesn't close that gap. So that's something I think we need to look at again. But we can,
How long is the gap, Jeff? Is how high and how long is it?
well, because the gutter slopes,
Yeah.
that gap constantly changes thickness.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I mean, I think at worst it's like 2 inches.
So there's no fascia board behind the gutter there?
The fascia board is much lower than the roof line that the gutter attaches to. And the gutter is attached to the fascia board. The fascia board is not sitting up at the underside of the roof.
So when you after you made the repair,
Mhm.
does the roof look to be say the bottom edge of the roof, is it sort of a straight line, if you will, or does that area still, I mean, could the
So straight,
blocking or part of the structure been pushed up at the same time the roof separated from the blocking?
I don't think so. It looks like it's a straight line now.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, the whole framing up there is just strange. But the roof is back down. That's all I can tell you. That's the good thing. I think we need to investigate finding, I don't know if there's some way we can put some sheet metal to close off that gap. I don't know if whether the gutter guys can do that or not. But
Well, what
go
if
ahead.
you took let's say the current fascia board is 4 inches, you know, And so then you start with one that's 6 inches and you do a taper cut so that, and you replace a section so that it closes the gap.
Yeah, you could do that, but you could do that. It's a lot of work, but it could be done, sure.
They'd have to take out, I mean, part of that gutter is like damaged, so you could just cut that whole section off.
Well, you're going to take down all the gutter, right? And then the fascia board behind it that the gutter is attached to, provided it's not rotted, because we can't see that.
Mhm.
But if that board is sound, yeah, you could cut yourself a tapered piece of wood to close that gap.
Oh, I got you. If the existing fascia is sound, could just cut a tapered piece to fill in above it to close the gap.
Yeah, but I was just thinking of just using sheet metal. As you know, all we're trying to do is keep the birds and the bees out of there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
right.
Or aluminum flashing, something like that. You know,
Exactly.
6-inch aluminum flashing, do the roll, stick it up there, put some screws.
Yeah, but we should do it before the gutter. Well,
Yes,
that's the problem is how do we do it in relationship to the gutter work? So maybe the gutter guys can do it. I think it's going to be another one of these cases where we got to get Mr. Gutter back out there and go up there and say, okay, how are we going to do this? So, but the good thing is the roof's done.
great.
Uh,
Which segues into the salt shed.
Then we went over and looked at the salt shed. Well, first the highway department guy comes over and says, you know, salt sheds and got some problems, and he says the columns are rotted down by at floor level. And I don't know how he could tell that because you can't see the columns down at floor level because the inside of the building is lined with 2-inch planks, which keeps the sand and the salt from pushing the outside skin of the building out of the way. But, you know, maybe he knows more than we do because it's kind of dark in there. You can't see a whole lot. But Russ and I did look up, and you can see where 4 or 5 of the roof trusses near the front entrance have been damaged in the past, and they've been fixed. And I'm just going to use the word fixed in quotes.
Sister,
I don't know who fixed them, and I don't know if there was an engineer who gave them any guidance on how to fix them, but there was some damage done to those trusses. But then as you walk farther back into the building and you look at where some of the trusses land on the side walls, the top cord and the bottom cord of the trusses are not in a line. And I call it a gusset plate, and Stephen knows the better name of the friggin' plate that,
well, I've always referred to them as nailing plates.
there you go.
They're no nails. They're these actually like these triangular little pins, if you will, and they're pressed in on each side at the factory, and the size of them depends on what the engineer says it has to be, and they need to fit tight and secure. Uh, and Jeff and Russ noted that some areas, it's like the 2 cords have shifted, so they're obviously not.
They're not holding together, I think,
They're
as
not
well.
doing their job.
And the other thing we noticed is the way the trusses are built, the bottom cord, there's a joint right dead center in the middle of each of the trusses at the bottom cord, and there's another one of these nailing plates,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of looks like maybe some of them are starting to spread a little bit. We also noticed that when you walk in the big doors to the right, there's a giant steel bent plate about 6 or 8 foot tall and about 15 inches in each leg of this bent plate bolted in at the corner of the building on the inside. And that's the only place that it happens, but it's also pretty near where those trusses were fixed. So Russ and I kind of decided that we don't think we ought to be taking any siding off this building at the moment. And we weren't
Might be
real,
structural.
yeah, we weren't
What's
real
left of it?
about should we really be messing around with this thing until somebody tells us this building is really structurally okay? Then the other thing we noticed, if you look at the outside of the building, there's 45-degree kickers coming off the building, but they do not align with the columns, the building columns. And we're not sure what they align with and what it is they're attached back to inside the building. Our guess is those 45-degree kickers are reinforcement for the wood planks that are on the inside of the building that hold back the salt and the sand.
That would make sense.
We don't know that for sure. We're not sure what they connect to. But we did notice that the wood siding on the side of the building, when it comes down to those kickers, it looks like stuff has settled and tore the wood siding where it slid down onto those kickers. So another reason we're wondering what the hell's going on there. And then we got to the big doors, and the track system is really, we've never seen anything like that for the track system for those doors. And kind of really questioning whether we should be repairing those big doors, or maybe if we determine the building is structurally sound and we deal with all these other issues, maybe the better solution is to get some new aluminum doors and a new track system, as opposed to trying to cobble those wooden doors back together again. So what I'm proposing is we try to hire an engineer, structural engineer, to come in and do an analysis of what do we got there. The problem is, one, it's a hell of a long ways up to those trusses, and I don't think anybody's going to go in there with a freaking ladder. So they're probably going to need a lift.
Scissor lift, yeah.
Yeah, and then at the moment you cannot see the bottom of the columns where the highway department guy says they're all rotted out. So we
Even
may
from the outside?
huh?
Not even from the outside?
You can see part of it. We didn't spend a lot of time because there seems to be a lot of poison ivy and other stuff growing around in there.
Oh, nice.
So you may be able to see from something from the outside.
Usually in a structure like that, I try to, as much as I can, probe,
Yeah.
bottoms of the columns. And,
Yeah.
that wasn't something that I picked up on. When you're facing the building from the road, so if you go to the right corner, so we're talking the south east corner, where
Right.
that
That's where that
bottom,
big gusset plate is.
okay, well, on the outside where that board is loose,
Yeah.
David pointed that out to me, and I don't know, I don't remember his exact comment, but it was like, this column is shot. Well, it has suffered some rot and decay, but it's not shot.
Yep.
And he doesn't like that salt shed because you can't take a tractor trailer of salt delivery into the shed and dump it.
Right. Yep.
And he would be very happy to have a new salt shed.
Yep.
So that might color his comments a little bit. I'm not sure.
Sure.
But I think having the building checked out by an engineer makes very good sense based on what you saw. Um, and we could probe some of those columns uh, more carefully ourselves. Um,
Well, in fact, I was thinking, Stephen, maybe you and I could go over there someday
mhm.
and try to probe more stuff together. Um, Russ and I, we did some, but
Yeah,
by the time we got to that, it was after lunch.
yeah,
Spent the morning on the roof. Um, but I don't know how fast we would be able to get a structural engineer in there, and also what the process we would have to go through. Because I did a little bit of investigation on the law in terms of hiring an engineer, and I think, and this is something we would need maybe Haley to look into. I think if the fee is less than $30,000, you can just go hire an engineer. If the fee's over $30,000, then you have to put together a scope of work and advertise it and all that happy
geez.
nonsense. So all of this is going to make this a little bit more difficult. And then the other question would be, when are they going to fill the thing up with sand and salt?
Soon.
Yeah, pretty soon, I'll bet. So I'm not convinced we're going to get to these answers real fast.
Mhm.
But maybe we'll start with Stephen and I looking at it again.
Yeah, we could go back, and I have a reasonably strong flashlight. Um, we might be able to see a little bit better some of those
Yeah.
connections.
Right.
And, maybe, and also take a level plumb line and, see what we can conjure.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's what came out of our exercise.
Okay, then someone in the finance committee happened, and they're worried about where the money's coming. Does it have to be on the warrant in the October and all that? So, depending on how fast we need to do this as a committee, we might have to say, let's say 20, we'll call it 27,000. I like that number. That was one of our other engineers for the school. That would have to come out. It wouldn't come out of our budget. It would have to come out of, and it wouldn't come out of free cash. It might come out of free cash, but it'd have to be a warrant article. If it came out of free cash, it's a 50% vote. So we'd have to get it on the October warrant. And I don't know when the deadline of that is. On the other side, I'm going to a wedding party. Tom's nephew got married in Italy, and only a small group of people got to go last month. And we're going down to New Jersey Saturday morning. And my brother-in-law is a structural engineer, civil engineer, and I can ask him some ballpark figures, and I'll show him pictures.
Okay.
And GZA just bought him out. They don't have anything like that. He does bridges and other structures like that. And GZA doesn't have a division, and they're very happy to have him. But he's part of GZA, and then he gets to retire in 3 years. With that.
So I asked Haley to see if anybody has any documentation on, like, where did we get the friggin' building from to begin with? Who built it, or did they buy it, or whatever it is? And do we have any documentation on these fixes that have been done to it, or is that somebody who put some big plates up there and said, well, if 2 bolts are good, 20 bolts ought to be even better.
the truss repairs that you
Yep.
saw, those had been done before, before I did the inspection. So
Right,
they've been there a while.
right. And that's what I'm kind of wondering, who did the truss repairs, based on what? So,
My guess is in-house.
would be.
Yeah, so
Well, based on truss repairs that, I would occasionally see in residences, the the main thing is a lot of fasteners, like uh, if those two by whatevers that are sistered to the existing members have numerous fasteners, like maybe every 4 inches, boom, 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 multiples going all the way along, then it's probably okay, even if it was just seat of the pants engineering.
Yeah, could be. So,
yeah, I'll ask Steve Sullivan, who lives up the street, if he knows when that building was built. Because he's been around.
so Haley emailed me back when I asked about, do we have any documentation? She said she was going to forward the email to the historical department or the historical committee.
I think the plans that were gotten from over at Old Town Hall that reflect the addition to Town Hall for the elevator and rear assembly, they were over in Old Town Hall somewhere.
So it's Leslie Bracebridge we have to ask.
Yeah, but Leslie's not on the historical commission anymore.
She isn't. No, but I know she's not on the host, but she's a wealth of knowledge.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we have time. Do you feel, Jeff, being the professional you are, do we have time to do this? This isn't hurry up and spend, hurry up and spend.
I don't think it's hurry up and spend. I mean, it's been there in this condition for a while.
And we know what, I mean, I Googled in last year's meeting what a new salt shed costs, and it's like 400,000. And the town of Orange is budgeting 600,000 for theirs in 2027.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's a lot of money.
I think Dave Grenier found something where you take those large precast concrete Lego blocks and you do like a couple of layers. I'm not sure if it's 2, 3, or 4 of those. And then it's like a big one of those heavy duty tarp sheds that, has a pipe assembly. He checked one of these out somewhere and it was a lot less money.
That's what I Googled, by the way. The hooped pot. So
and that was 400.
Well, depending on the size, it all comes down to the size. How much salt are we a commercial? We're not doing 202 and all that. How much salt do we get? How much do they need? And salt doesn't go bad, I guess, but some salt clumps. So we'll look at that roof again, try to get that done next year within that next year's budget. But well, I'll look into those numbers, try to come up and just with pictures and everything else. They were just nervous because they thought they needed the money right away and they'd have to put it on the warrant. And so we feel as a buildings committee, it needs to be done in the next year. The engineering should be done sooner than later, but
I think the engineering is the answers that we get from the engineer are going to have a lot to do with the urgency.
Right. Exactly.
So that's what we want to try and do as soon as we can.
Okay. So we'll find those numbers out. We might have to put those dollars on the warrant and take it out of free cash. Okay. That sounds like a plan.
Are you going to be talking to Haley soon?
Tomorrow?
No.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
So can you ask her, is there some kind of threshold on hiring an engineer? Or if it's above a certain dollar amount, you can't just go, ask an engineer to do this?
Mhm.
You have to put it out. I think the number was, what I read was like 30,000. And then the other question I would have is, the engineer is going to have to hire a lift. Is that part of the 30,000? Or is the 30,000 just in their professional engineering fee? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think scissor lifts can be run anywhere from 200 to 500 a day. So that's something that's they drop them off and they pick them up.
Right.
So that's easy money if that isn't.
Yeah, but they would have to have an operator.
That's true. Or they might have in-house people. Yeah, I will ask about the scissor lift also.
I kind of doubt that an engineer is going to let one of their people just because of their own insurance.
Yep. Well, I'll also talk to Vinny.
See what your brother-in-law says, or brother.
Yeah, because he goes out on scissor lifts on these big bridges. He does, but he doesn't run them. Operating engineers run them.
Right.
Okay. Is there any other we talked about a lot about unanticipated stuff today, or that was incorporated with everything else up there. Does anyone else have any issues, concerns?
No.
Good. Then do I have a motion?
How about next meeting?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it. We did this last time after we hung up. One, two. The 16th of September.
I'm away.
Okay.
I could do the 23rd
Okay.
or the 9th.
Yeah, that's good for me.
Well, I guess one question is, I don't know when we might get an engineer, but is there value in meeting sooner rather than later? If you're going to have to try and get something onto a warrant?
Yeah. Why don't we do that? Meet on the 9th. 9/9/26. Okay. And I'll send that out to you all, and I'll tell Anna about that also. I'll go to see Haley tomorrow, and we'll get things in motion. That makes a good sense, Stephen. So we'll do that. We can add an extra week to the next month's meeting and do 5 weeks.
So one last question. So you mentioned emailing different things to us, and like one being minutes, because I haven't
It's
received.
not email. When I share something and I put your name on it, you should get a notice you've been shared.
No.
Yeah.
Where would this notice come? Would it
On
come
your
as an email?
it comes with
Text?
it comes on your email.
No,
No.
Okay.
I haven't gotten anything about minutes.
Okay, that's how I've done it in the past. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just print it as a PDF and email it to you all. And then the minutes are kept in the cloud for me.
And then, I'll look. I do remember receiving some information from you about various things, but there was something that you talked about earlier that I don't have a memory of
Okay.
getting. And that would be from your address?
From Shrewsbury Frank. I don't mind doing a PDF. It takes no time at all. And actually, I could do that. It helped me with the extra step because when we approve the minutes, I have to print it as a PDF, give it a certain name, and publicize it on my town. and then give it to the web committee to put it on the website, which I think is redundant. But so I have to do that anyway. So I don't mind doing it sooner than earlier. So it'll be one extra step I do, and I'm going to have to do it anyway. So I'll start doing that, make it easier. If that works for you all.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. If we have nothing else, do we have a motion?
I make a
Move that
motion.
we close the meeting.
Yes.
Second.
Dalmas, aye.
Parker, aye.
Malcolm Bush, aye.
Again, aye. Thank you all very much.
Frank,
Yeah.
the last thing I have from you is from Comtank coming that was on the 29th of July.
Okay. I'll look at, I don't get receipts from it. I just click a button in the web and it's supposed to send everything out. So I'll look at it again.
Okay.
Because I saw you on one thing. So, but I'm going to do.
I also have the thing about the town hall back door, and then I sent you the photos after it was done and you responded. So I have
Yeah.
those two things from August 5th and 6th.
Okay. I'll look at it and I'll start just doing those as PDF. It's a lot easier. And it's a step I have to do anyway. Okay.
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 All
Thank
right.
Thank you.
you. Bye-bye.
Night.